I've always been interested in history and current events. From the time that I was in middle school, I would wake up extra early, and while I was getting ready to go to school, I would watch the news. At first, I was only interested in local stories and weather and stuff like that. But then, I gradually became more interested in international news and stations like CNN. Current events had always been a major topic of conversation at our table. Now, I was beginning to understand them and even live them. There's nothing better than witnessing events that you know are going to change the world. Watching Barack Obama become the first African-American president, or seeing the first Latin American pope elected, those are the moments that I live for. A few years ago, I was lucky enough to travel to Europe with a group of students in an educational program. While I was there, I had the opportunity to meet several people and discuss the issues that they are facing in their countries. I was surprised to find that these issues are similar to the ones that we encounter in the US. I'd always thought that our problems were unique to us as Americans. I had never really considered the everyday problems that people in other countries faced. I was also surprised to discover that people in other countries know a lot more about us than we do about them. I heard a story about an Austrian man who was a prisoner of war in a labor camp in the United States during World War II. I hadn't even known that we had labor camps in the US. Oops. After I got home, I began to wonder why. Why do we only think about ourselves? And why don't American teenagers think about the world in the ways that French or Spanish teenagers do? After a while, I identified part of the problem. Many young people no longer get their news from conventional sources outside of school. They don't read the newspapers or watch the news on television. Instead, they use the internet. But they are learning about popular culture, gaming, and social media. I was determined to figure out a way to share information about issues that are impacting other countries in a format that people my age would be interested in. I came up with the idea of creating brief videos to post on YouTube that would describe various global issues. Before returning to Europe, I researched each of the countries that I was going to visit, and I looked at their critical problems. The problems that I chose were the housing crisis in Spain, racism against immigrants in Italy, and the rising rates of suicide in Greece. I researched these topics in an effort to understand what the heart of the controversy was and to find out how the governments of each country was dealing with their problems. When I returned to Europe, I met some amazing people who helped me by letting me interview them regarding the issues I had selected. They were surprised to find that an American had an interest in their lives and their problems. Although the national news puts out international stories, we have nowhere near the amount of knowledge about them as they do of us. For example, during the 2008 American election, if you walked up to a person in France, they could tell you the candidates, what parties they were running for, and the key points of their campaigns. But last year, when France had an election, we hardly paid any attention to it. Many people here didn't even know that France was electing a new president. This ethnocentrism is one of the reasons why I wanted to create videos that didn't only reflect the viewpoint of an American. I wanted the real opinions of Greek, Italian, and Spanish people. After returning home, I edited my interviews and bits of my research together to form videos, and I created a series called Alaina Speaks Global Issues. These were posted on YouTube and have been seen by over 4,000 people in many different countries. I wanted to share these with you, and so I created a little compilation of the videos that I made. First, meet Dionysus from Greece, addressing the alarmingly high rise in suicide rates in his country. This is due to high unemployment and economic problems that are creating an environment of hopelessness. This is especially true for the young people of Greece, whose unemployment rate is over 50%.
You might know from the news in the country that we ended up having a crisis and high debts in the country, and that's why the last 3 years many people lost their jobs. We have a high unemployment rate. Before the crisis started, we used to have 9% unemployment, now it's 19%. So it rose up to 10% in just 3 years. And they raised the taxes, they lowered the salaries, which means that people had already bought houses with mortgages, and they have to pay off their credit cards as well. So if somebody has to support the whole family and lost his job, has to pay a high property tax and so many taxes, people just get very depressed because they can't do anything.
Since this video was made, the unemployment rate in Greece has risen to 26.8%, the highest in all of Europe. Next is Valentina from Italy, who discusses racism against immigrants. Many people have been going into Italy illegally, mostly for jobs, and this has caused a surge of racism and violence against illegal and legal immigrants alike.
Last year, in the small island Lampedusa, arriving people from the north of Africa, and this was a huge problem for us because the Italian government was alone. These people arrived from the sea, they escaped from terrible situation, but they arrive so many here, and sometimes there is this problem to control. I have nothing with the people that they arrive legal.
Of all my videos, this one has brought the most emotional responses. The crisis in Spain rages on, with acts of violence being perpetrated against both legal and undocumented immigrants. The last topic was the housing crisis in Spain. The Spanish people live with a problem that I found really interesting. Young people have no opportunity to buy homes, so they live with their parents, often into their 30s. I mean, could you imagine living with your parents until you were 35? I mean, I'm sorry, Mom, I love you, but no. There are millions of apartments available, but prices are so high that people just can't afford them. This has created an interesting dynamic as people in Spain go from living in nuclear families to extended families. Finally, meet Belen from Spain, who addresses this housing crisis.
We have many problems because now, for example, in Barcelona, there are many demonstrations and protests of people who are complaining because they can't buy an apartment, because they need $300,000, $400,000, and they will never have this money, and they are complaining. Right now, every time you will see more homeless people living on the street. If you live in a small town, then there is no problem, because you can live with someone, because everybody knows each other, and they take care of them.
The unemployment rate in Spain is 26%, so there isn't an end to the problem in sight. The number of homeless people in Spain grows daily. After I posted my videos to YouTube, I waited for the comments to come in. This was one of the most anticipated parts of the whole experience. I wanted there to be interesting conversations and online discussions, and wanted there to be an epic YouTube comment battle with opinions being thrown right and left. And it didn't happen. Instead, I got one comment on my Spanish video and 3 likes. One from Mom, one from brother, one from grandma. Needless to say, I was feeling quite despondent over the lack of response to my videos. I was disappointed that I had worked so hard editing, interviewing, researching, and people just weren't watching. However, slowly but surely, I began to get more hits on my videos, especially on the one about Italian immigration. People began leaving comments from all over the world, some which were quite enlightening, with people calmly stating their viewpoints, and some which were like this one. All Muslims, Africans, gypsies, and illegal immigrants should be deported and jailed. Italy is not a Muslim country. We don't want no terrorists here. I received many racist comments, such as this one, some with such explicit language that I had to remove them from the site. With the aid of a translator, I learned several swear words in foreign languages. The controversy that I wanted came. It just took a while. Then, a few months ago, I got my big break, so to speak. My mom, who was a high school history teacher, showed one of the videos to her students. They said they never knew that these kinds of things were happening in the world, and they were actually interested. They had questions about what they saw and heard. Once she showed them the first one, they wanted to see the others. Getting this feedback was very valuable. Teenagers stressed that they liked the length, the topics, and the fact that the videos were on YouTube, just a place that teenagers spend a lot of time, trust me. This feedback, after I received it, I realized this idea can work. It's just going to take time, some networking, and some helpful people. My message to the newspapers, TV stations, and other news organizations out there is that we are not our parents, our grandparents, or our great-grandparents. We interact with the world in ways they could have never imagined. If you want us to learn, speak to us where we live, in a fast-paced, high-tech society where we can access almost any information we want in an instant. If you speak to us where we spend our time, and if you make the information compelling, we will watch and we will learn. I'm still trying to educate myself and others about the issues and conflicts in other countries. If everybody who watched my videos could share them with 5 more people, and those 5 people could share them with 5 more people, and you get the idea, just imagine how we could revolutionize learning. I'd like to leave you today the same way that I end my videos, by asking each and every one of you to be a person who cares. Thank you very much.